Well, I don't understand hip-hop. Rapping doesn't do it for me. Well, I'm just a child of the 70s, and pretty soon that's the age I'll be. Good loving was all I ever thought about, every night and every day. Now when my show is done, I get more excited about a sandwich from Subway.
Hello, hi, how are you? Welcome back in to another podcast by George. Well, things are starting to reopen with restrictions. I mean, you got to use some common sense, but we're starting to get out and about again cautiously, and that means, yeehaw, the music scene is starting again. We're starting to see some shows, some concerts, some performances, and I wanted to get to a couple of my favorites. The String Prophets are back in the house. Catherine Severing Fox and Bob Pace. And I'm going to keep the bio short this time. I know Bob hates these in particular, but yeah, this goes out around the world. So for folks that don't know, Catherine Severing Fox received a master's in music down at the University of Miami in viola performance. Graduating in May of 2015, she had the opportunity to record with George Benson. She also has had the privilege of performing in PBS specials with Gloria Estefan, Bobby McFerrin, Chick Corea, and more. She performed in China. And of course, now she's the far better half of the String Prophets with our old friend, our old buddy, our old pal, my cousin, Bob Pace. And Bob Pace has entertained Midwest audiences for more than 40 years. He proudly led the Tuesday night house band at the legendary Blues on Grand for almost 20 years, and I like to refer to him as the head parole officer at the weekly work release party every Friday afternoon at the Gas Lamp with the Dangerous Band. And Bob has opened for blues icons Jimmy Vaughn, Johnny Winter, John Mayall, Tab Benoit, Tower Power, Delbert McClinton, many, many others. And boy, I tell you, come to these shows because you get a chance to talk to Bob, and He's got lots of stories. And one of the reasons I like to give those bios is to kind of give the bona fides to performers like these. You think, well, these are Iowa performers. Bob's in the Iowa Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the Iowa Blues Hall of Fame, but these big-time acts that we're talking about, they don't allow schmucks on the stage or on their recordings with them. You got to be able to play your ass off to play with people like that, and these guys can do it, and I'm just delighted to have them back on a podcast by George. Catherine and Bob, welcome on in.
Thanks, George. Can we go back to some more credits for Catherine?
Yeah, I mean, they could just go on and on. I mean, she's performed with the Beach Boys and all kinds of stuff. It's just amazing that you can sit in a bar on a Saturday night in Des Moines, Iowa, and watch this kind of talent. I think, for a $5 cover charge or a little money in the till or something like that is just outstanding. And really, that's kind of where I wanted to start with this, Bob, before we get to you guys being out in the String Prophets music. Now, you're connected. You know everybody on the music scene. We've been in this hellacious desert for a year now, wandering around trying to find our way out. How are the musicians getting by? How are they coping? What's it been like?
From what I understand, the people that I have talked to, everybody's getting by. Just that. They're maintaining, but they're they're just chomping at the bit to get out and start playing again. And some of my friends are starting to play out cautiously as we are. But it's been rough. There's just absolutely no doubt about it for everybody.
Well, what I will say is we do have this in common. I had a career in broadcasting, and people in broadcasting, particularly, unless you're nationally famous or something like that, man, you learn to live skinny. You learn to live on the cheap. You got to. I got a couple of stories I love to tell. I knew a guy that had an apartment when I was in radio, and I'm, God, this is really impressive. I went over to the guy's house, and how the hell do you afford an apartment? Well, he picked an apartment that was in the center of the apartment house so that he got radiant heat from all the other apartments. And then he never turned his thermostat up. He never used the heat. That's how the guy got by. He didn't have a vacuum sweeper. This dude put masking tape on his hands and crawled around on his hands and knees on the carpet and picked up a little lint but he had an apartment. And I also worked with a guy that bought a case of green beans one time, and that's what he ate for a month when I was in radio. I thought the dude was going to turn green. But okay, so people can get by, I guess. Catherine, you've been teaching and you've got students. I mean, what's that world been like in the last year?
I'm really grateful because I have been able to have a really stable life, I guess, like financially, you could say. I will say it's exhausting. I think I have about 36 students, and then I teach a couple classes and run one of the groups at the college that I teach at. And I think what the hardest part has been, though, is just the uptick in mental health. It's just been a huge thing. So it's been interesting trying to navigate, of course, trying to do the hybrid type of teaching is what we're doing. So half online, half in person, but then also navigating the roller coaster of emotions that everyone's feeling all the time and trying to just give as much grace to everyone and to ourselves as we can. So,
yeah, thank God we made it through. And I know some folks didn't. You folks lost some close friends. I know Catherine and Bob both did. Bob, I just saw not too long ago somebody that I wasn't aware of at all. And somebody that you knew, the guy that was kind of the leader of the Pelican Peace Band. He passed away a year or two ago. I didn't know that. Is that right?
Last year, yeah, Danny Nisley. He was the original drummer for the band.
Wow.
Yeah. It wasn't COVID. He had severe Alzheimer's.
So, I mean, time marches on. And Catherine, you were touched also. I know you lost a friend.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Kim, I think you're probably talking about Kim Mason, who was kind of like my dad, like coming into the music scene in Des Moines a couple of years ago. He was a big reason why I have the connections I have, why I got more confident with who I am as a musician. So that's been a tough one.
Well, let's remember the past and celebrate the future here. I'm hoping that we're moving on, and I wanted to talk about the reopening here a little bit, and the String Prophets in particular. Now, both of you play in different genres. You play in different bands. I mentioned the Dangerous Band. I mean, that's on a Friday night. You go down there if you want to have a shot of tequila. If you want to listen to the String Prophets, I think of that as maybe having a nice glass of wine someplace and listening to that type of music. I'm going to play a little bit of what you guys have done recently. This was a television performance, but tell us, I wanted to get to what the String Prophets were and what it's becoming and how it's changing it all, and if you guys are doing any new songs, what we have to look forward here coming up.
Yeah, I think because we had this kind of hiatus where the two of us weren't, gigging all the time like we had been, we each had time to dive into our songwriting again and had time to kind of find the sources of joy in music that we maybe hadn't quite gotten to yet for ourselves, but also just because of the nature of our duo, what we're able to do. And so I definitely think that there's going to be a lot more original music, even more so than there was already in our shows. And probably a decent amount of instrumental pieces now. We're coming up with a lot of really cool ideas because Bob's also starting to play mandolin more. So we're going to be doing, I think, some pretty fun instrumental pieces that, kind of stand alone without even a lyric or anything. But yeah,
banjo.
Yeah. So kind of rootsy, so I'm looking forward to us kind of exploring what that is for us.
Well, Bob, the String Prophets, ironically, just getting rolling really when the disease and pestilence set in, when the shutdown occurred. So how do you see this moving forward? Are we going to see a lot of the String Prophets, or is this going to just be a sometimes project, or what do you see the future?
The String Prophets, nothing against the Dangerous Band or anything else that I'm affiliated with. The String Prophets is really where my heart and soul is these days. Catherine is, she's a world-class player and a world-class human being. And every time I get together to play with her, it's just fun, educational, interesting, There's never really a dull moment. I can't think of a show we played yet where I didn't have a good time. So we got our calendar pretty full. We've got probably, I'm going to guesstimate 25, 30 shows already booked for the summer,
Wow.
late spring and summer. And I'm looking forward to every single one of those. Again, we've talked so much during the pandemic about what we want to do coming out of this. And we have a lot of new ideas, new songs, some traditional stuff that we'd like to play, kind of Americana, folky, but at the same time doing the kind of stuff that people seem to have already enjoyed that we are kind of known for.
Well, let's give folks a sample here. Let's go ahead and watch this. We'll just get 30 seconds of this or so to give people a flavor of what we're talking about. We'll come right back. But here is the String Prophets.
Well, it's a new old world now, baby. It's getting harder to find my way. Smartphones, laptops are twerking, tweets and Kanye. And it's a new old world now, honey, and I don't think I understand. Well, this high tech is just making a wreck out of this old man. Well, I don't understand hip-hop. Rapping doesn't do it for me. Well, I'm just a child of the 70s, and pretty soon that's the age I'll be. Good loving was all I ever thought about, every night and every day. Now when my show is done, I get more excited about a sandwich from Subway. 'Cause it's a new old world now, baby, and I don't think I understand. Smartphones, laptops, twerking, tweets and Kardashians. And it's a new old world now, baby, getting harder to find my way. Well, this high tech is just making a wreck out of me these days.
So that's an idea of what you're going to see when the String Prophets reopen. And it's happening, folks. I mean, this is going to be the next week, a couple of weeks, something like that. Of course, you know, some of this is going to be outside. Some of it, if it's indoors, you're going to have to wear a mask. You're going to have to socially distance. You're going to have to use, like my mom said, you're going to have to act like you got some sense. And that's always been hard for me to do. I can act like it sometimes. A lot of times I don't accomplish the feat. But there's an important date coming up with the String Prophets that I know Bob wants to talk about, and it's a little bit of a benefit. Bob, what do you got coming up in May?
Well, I was speaking about a few minutes ago about fallen comrades around Des Moines. We've got another one who's not doing too good at the moment. In fact, I believe he's in hospice right now. His name is Alan Smith, very beloved figure here in Des Moines. Great guy, great guitar player, just everything. And I believe that's May 21st from 5 to 7, Catherine?
I think it's 5 to 10.
5 to 10, that's right. And Catherine and I are hoping to get there in time to play a few tunes to just raise a few dollars for him and his girlfriend. Let him know that there's love out there, that we care, and we're thinking about him. And of course, we're pulling for him.
Yeah, Alan's a great guy, and I think of him. He's the Beatles guy, right, Bob? Isn't he the guy that came over from England and brought one of the first albums by the Beatles and provided it to a local radio station? He kind of introduced the great Midwest to the Beatles back in the day, and an accomplished musician, a great guy.
Very much so, yeah, great guy. We all love him, and it's not looking great for him, but all we can do is pray for him and show him love. Raise a couple dollars. So.
Yeah, that's sad. And I don't know. That's the stage of life that Bob and I seem to be at anyway. Catherine is younger, but I mean, yeah, in the music community, what wonderful people that we have. Well, okay, so the String Prophets are coming back out. I mentioned the fact that we're going to have these guidelines in place. Do you see? Are you going to be playing outdoors primarily? Have you got some indoor venues? Some scheduled dates that are indoors also?
We have some, but they're a little later down the road in the late spring. Most of our stuff coming out of the gate is going to be outdoors. I believe
although the first one we have, May 1st, is Covered Bridges. And I don't know if it's outdoor or indoor, but I do know that they're selling tickets for that, and people have to buy a table, and it's going to be socially distanced.
Okay.
So, mhm.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot. That's one of the ways they kind of build in socially distancing. You have to get a table. You can sit at it by yourself if you want to, but you
Right.
probably ought to bring 3 or 4 people with you that you know are safe, and then that's how you're going to social distance from the other people. And,
Sure.
yeah, and that's how it works. Well, that's great. Like I said, it has been a slog. I hope things continue to improve, and that this is the beginning of the end. That there's daylight here at the end of the musical tunnel for all of us. And we're just about out of time. Give us a closer. Give us a wrap up, either one or both of you here, how you want to
Um,
close
if I
here.
could, George, I would just make a shameless plug for the Dangerous Band.
Yeah.
We start back on the 16th at the Gas Lamp, 4 to 7. And we got Blues and Rock and Roll Hall of Famer Greg Sutherland playing for us now on bass. And of course, Ben Williams Jr. and myself. And Tom Murphy is very busy doing recording and projects, but he will be back from time to time to help us out because he's part of the family. And also, former Butter Cow blues band, now called the Midnight Dogs, is going to be back. I believe that's the 8th at Lefty's Live Music. And we have Matt Woods back with us, the ever amazing Matt Woods. So those are my plugs.
And is Neil going to be with you at Lefty's?
He might come in from time to time. I don't think he wants to do it permanently. He has a lot of fans in the fire. He's a busy young man, always in demand.
Yeah, and he drops in at the Dangerous Band once in a while, too. He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, by the way, with the Natas. So, I mean,
Well
there's
deserved.
just, stellar music everywhere. And you mentioned Tom Murphy. I know he's got a CD that he's working on. There's going to be a new album release here very shortly. So
I've heard a couple of tracks off of it. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's very different than what you'd think he might be playing. But Tom, nobody really knows. He plays drums, keyboards, guitar, plus bass. And he's very accomplished in all of them. So he can do his own album just by overdubbing stuff in the studio, of course. And I'm really anxious to hear what he does.
Yeah, and it is creative. I've heard one song also, and it's folks, you got to check this out when it releases because it's not like anything you've heard before. It's going to be great stuff. Well, looking forward to the String Prophets. Looking forward to that mandolin, Bob. It sounds like you're circling back to that instrument a little bit. That'll be fun and interesting. And all of these dates are available. People can follow either one or both of you on Facebook. The String Prophets has its own website, also, correct?
We don't technically have our own web page. We have our own Facebook page, but you can see all of our dates are up on my website too. If you want to see it on a regular website, that's fine. It's just CatherineSeveringFox.com. And we are I'm excited to say that we're going to be at the Waukee Festival too on July 17th. So that'll be a fun one. And I think some Valley Junction stuff will be at as well. I did just want to mention real quick too, because you're talking about albums, we are planning on recording one, maybe even 2 albums in the next couple months that we're going to be releasing that people should be able to listen to this summer. So
God, that's great. I tell you what I like the most about all of this is it sounds normal. I mean, let's get normal's good. Whoever would thought I'd say that, but yeah, I'm just looking forward to normal. Folks, that's going to do it. We're just out of time. And I just really enjoy this. I love doing the music stuff on the podcast. And today our guests, the String Prophets, Catherine Severing-Fox and Bob Pace. Thanks, guys, for coming on the podcast by George.
Thanks for doing what you do, my friend. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll see you soon. You know I will. I'll be right there in the front row. And folks, if you like Podcast by George, please follow us. You can get us an audio or video. Just go to podcastbygeorge.com. Pick the platform that you would like. Hell, it's on Amazon Prime. I'd forgotten about that. I haven't mentioned. You can get Podcast by George on Spotify, Amazon Prime. You can get us on YouTube, of course. Subscribe, ring the notification bell, and we're on Facebook as well. But that's going to do it. That's going to wrap it up. That's all there is. And there ain't no more. That's another podcast by George.